All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon, and in this video, we're going to talk about Shawn Porter making a big admission relative to Jaron Ennis and what he said about him being overrated. Let's talk about that in this video. All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon. In this video, we're going to talk about what Shawn Porter had to say, which is pretty much admitting that he was just feeling a little bit of haterade related to Jaron Ennis because he makes a big admission about what he actually thinks about him when he explained what he said. But before I get into that, though, let's want to thank you very much for subscribing to the channel and continuing to support the channel. If you're not subscribed, please make sure that you subscribe and hit the bell icon so that you can be notified of when we release our videos. And you got to make sure to select all notifications to make sure that you get all notifications. All right, man. So if you recall, about a week ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, Shawn Porter made a big splash in the media because he called Jaron Boots Ennis overrated. That had struck a lot of people very funny because he had previously said that Jaron Ennis is somebody that he would not fight and believed was the next up in the welterweight division. Well, after he now came out and gave a further explanation of what he said, and there's no other way to explain it than he was admitting that he was just in his emotions when he said it, and that it was the fighter in him that really did react poorly to the publicity that Jaron Ennis is getting. And this is pretty much what he said. He was like, look, as a fighter, you can't tell me that I'm going to lose to anybody. He said, I don't care who it is. Me as a fighter, my mentality is that if I'm fighting Terence Crawford or if I'm fighting Alexander Usyk, does not matter. When I'm thinking about myself, I'm not allowing myself to think that I am going to lose to that guy or that that guy can beat me. That's the mentality of a fighter. And that's the mentality that he was in when he's hearing about Jaron Ennis and how Jaron Ennis is going to mop Terence Crawford, how he's going to mop Errol Spence Jr., right? How nobody mop Keith Thurman and, beat everybody in the division, and then none of those guys have any chance to beat him whatsoever, right? So he's pretty much saying that hearing people phrase it that way is what really irritated him and got him into defense mode to say, look, nah, man, he's overrated. That's not the case. He's not just going to blow everybody out, because he feels like as a fighter, Jaron Ennis is not going to blow me out, Shawn Porter. He's not going to blow Shawn Porter out, nor are the other guys that Shawn Porter has had, really close fights with or tough fights with or losses to, like Keith Thurman, like Errol Spence Jr., and like Terence Crawford. That Jaron Ennis isn't going to just do something that Shawn Porter himself couldn't do and blow these guys out, right? And at the same time, he says that he has to admit that Jaron Ennis has the ability to beat any of the top welterweights, right? And I should have included Yordenis Ugas in that as well, because Yordenis Ugas is also somebody that Shawn Porter fought, and Shawn Porter did not. He got the decision, but some people thought that Yordenis Ugas should have got the decision. But he's saying, look, man, Jaron Ennis is not going to blow that guy out. Once again, somebody that he fought and he wasn't able to blow out. So, it's good. In one sense, I'm glad to hear him say that, because what Shawn Porter said is like, look, I would not be surprised if he beat any of these guys. He would not. He would say that some of the guys he may actually favor him to beat. Didn't say which one, wasn't solid on it, but he was like, but whatever the case is, it's going to be something where you got to give these other fighters more respect than that when you talk about them, right? These are going to, if he gets in there with a Yordenis Ugas, that is going to be a tough fight for Jaron Ennis, and it may be a 12-round fight with Jaron Ennis, and it'd be something where it'd be a difficult matchup for him. Same thing for Errol Spence Jr. or Terence Crawford. But Shawn Porter at the same time is telling you, right, which is why the overrated thing doesn't apply, that he has the ability to beat these guys as well. And said, yeah, man, this dude is the best things. This guy may be the best thing, the most gifted fighter since we've had Roy Jones since Roy Jones Jr. And that's big because, as you know, Roy Jones Jr. came along started fighting professionally before Floyd Mayweather Jr. did, right? Because I think, was he in the 88 Olympics? I pretty believe he was in the 88. Roy Jones Jr. was in the 88 Olympics. It was Oscar De La Hoya was in the 92 Olympics, and Floyd Mayweather Jr. was in the 96 Olympics. So when you're talking about Floyd Mayweather, when Roy Jones Jr. is turning professional, you're talking about before Oscar De La Hoya and before Floyd Mayweather Jr. That's absolutely a very, very big compliment that he's given to him, and not truly saying that the guy is he's overrated, like he is not deserving of the respect that he's getting as a young fighter. So, but anyway, at the same time, man, Shawn Porter's admitting that it's probably, it's the fighter in him that had him reacting like that. And, it is what it is, man. That's a little bit of a haterade, man. By the definition of it, that's a little hateration. Now, I have to tell you, though, I do understand where Shawn Porter is coming from with that, because although I'm a big fan of Jaron Ennis, and I think similar to what Shawn Porter is saying, I think he has the ability. He very well may be able to beat Terence Crawford, may be able to beat Errol Spence Jr., may be able to beat Yordenis Ugas. I got him beating Keith Thurman, right? More confident about him beating Keith Thurman, and definitely anybody below that level. But to say that he is going to blow out these guys like he blew out Chris Van Heerden or how he blew out Thomas Delorme, I don't think that that's realistic, because that's not typically how those type of things happen. Even when you have a guy like Roy Jones Jr., when he's fighting a guy, he may prove like he did that he was a better fighter at the time than when he fought Bernard Hopkins the first time out. He didn't blow him out. It wasn't like, man, the guy just didn't look like, somebody of Bernard Hopkins' level was going to look like he doesn't belong in the ring with Roy Jones Jr. Same thing with James Toney. James Toney's a great fighter, Hall of Fame level fighter that lost to Roy Jones, but he never looked when he fought Roy Jones like he didn't belong in the ring with him at all. Same thing as if you look at Floyd Mayweather Jr. when he fought Manny Pacquiao. Floyd Mayweather Jr. won the fight. He won it handily, but wasn't a fight like it was like the Gotti fight, right? Where it looked like, that was life-threatening for Arturo Gotti to be in the fight with Floyd Mayweather Jr., and that was clearly two different levels of fighter. But whenever you saw Floyd in there with like Cotto, or you saw even Shane Mosley got his respect from Floyd Mayweather and made it look like he belonged in the ring with the man, right? So it's that level of, it's the difference between giving guys, these young up and coming contenders, because I'm not even going to call Jaron Ennis a prospect at this point in time. I think he's formally he is officially a contender looking to get his shot at a championship. But, there's not that much separation between great fighters, right? Even if one is super, super high level and the other guy is just super high level, right? Even like when you have a guy like, Ali, it was only in the 1960s when he was younger that a lot of those guys looked like they really did not belong in the ring with him. But even then, he may get in there with, with somebody every once in a while that could give him a good fight, right? Like, for example, Floyd Patterson, gave him a couple decent rounds, more, damage in his hands or whatever, but he stuck out the whole fight. You know what I mean? It's just rare that you're really going to get a guy that's so much better than everybody, where nobody looks like they belong in the ring. And that was kind of Ali in the 60s, but not in the 70s. In the 70s, the guys were giving him a better shot. Floyd, at some of the lighter weight classes, some of those guys look like Diego Corrales and that. But, when he get in with better level and guys that are close to their level, they're going to make it more of a competitive fight. But anyway, that's my take on the matter. You let me know what you think in the comment section. And with that, I'm out. Peace.